computer live stream, and we should be good to go. We're live on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, and TikTok. TikTok on the phone, everywhere else on the Pew. You get a slightly different stream if you're looking on Twitch, YouTube, or Kick. That comes from Streamlabs. TikTok, we just do from the phone. Pretty good stuff. Okay. So, Cancer, you're up. I am a sun sign Cancer, so this is for me too. We're kicking off. This is the September 2023 Zodiac readings. We've done Aries, Taurus, Gemini. We're going in order. Cancer is now. Tomorrow we will do Leo, Virgo, maybe Libra. So Cancer, you got some stuffs going on. It's been an emotional year. The moon has been doing its thing. Your ruling planet is the moon. It's a thing. You know, it happens. This is going to be a pretty good transitional month for you, Cancer. If you've been feeling down, if you've been feeling kind of a case of the bluesies, you may start to emerge from that starting this month, right? Being a little more vocal and a little more confident in terms of what you're able to do. Cancer has not been the easiest year for us, right? It's been one of ups and downs. I think generally speaking, for most people, it's been like that. It's not just one particular zodiac sign. You know, you do create your own reality. You do make your own stuff happen. But, you know, we incarnate in various guises to go through trials and tribulations. And this has certainly been a year where you may have been experiencing that, right? So here's one thing. When Libra season kicks off, 23rd of the month, this is a good time to go inside, reflect on what's going on with your emotions, focus on cultivating more comfort in your life, right? You actually, Cancer, need to feel comfortable and secure in order to shine. If you don't honor that, it's going to be a very difficult process. Almost more than any other signs, you need to feel at home, right? Cancer, the crab, gets a bad rep of being defensive at times. You know, we can be overly emotional and not really seem like that because we can be protective as that happens. But the truth is if you're feeling comfortable, your confidence grows and you can actually achieve the things that you would like to do. And that's important. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Delays and setbacks are probably going to continue this first week of September. We still have Mercury in retrograde. We still have Venus in retrograde. And then we get Jupiter going in retrograde in Taurus, I think on the 4th of September. So that's a lot of contraction. And it's not just delays and setbacks and kind of things going wrong. It's also review time, right? So don't be surprised if old acquaintances and friends or even exes really start to show up in your life. I know for me, that's been happening, especially the past couple of days. Just friends coming out of the woodwork who I haven't spoken to in quite some time, coming back, you know, and that's a very positive thing, generally speaking. It speaks to your ability to forge deep and meaningful relationships because you care, because you are a kind-hearted person generally, that people, even over long periods of time, are still interested in kind of getting to know you and being involved in your life, okay? Now, your work and your resources, your abundance, has probably not been at its peak, its zenith this year. That is going to start picking up. That is going to be something that really continues to gain steam throughout the month. Trust in that, know that to be true, and you will see more evidence of that happening, right? So if things have been kind of flat or even maybe going negative in certain areas of your life, expect to finally start to see some signals or signs of that changing. And you should be happy because, you know, it's not fun when things are not going well. Okay, here's the thing. If things aren't moving as quickly as you would like them to, try not to succumb to excessive panic if they're not going your way just yet. This is a process. The key kind of phrase I would use for this month for you, Cancer, September, is step by step, one step at a time. That's the most important thing. If you try to move and do everything at once, you're liable to be frustrated. You might go slip back into kind of an anxiety state. And that's really not what this energy is about for this month. It's really about putting one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, building on the things that you're able to build on. And then you can kind of get to these larger goals and dreams and actually have evidence pop up in your external reality that reinforces your own internal conviction. Okay, so just don't, if things aren't moving as quickly as you would like to, these cards speak a lot to that too. We'll get into those. Just don't panic, right? That's the one thing I would really like to emphasize is it's not the time for panic, okay? Contemplate possibilities and reflect on recent events. So shit happens in our lives not to slow us down, not to say we can't do something, not to show us that we're failures or things aren't going to work out. There's lessons in there. There's wisdom in there. But if you don't take the time reflecting back on what has happened, you're going to miss all of those lessons. And then it's going to start to feel like shit is not going well. And that can really cascade and snowball into a situation that is just not really beneficial for you or anyone else. Okay. So I just want to be clear, like, you have to kind of keep a positive mindset if you want to build on the things that are going on, and also be honest on where things have not gone well, right? Like, that's another huge part of this, okay? Avoid falling into despair and maintain your steadfastness as normalcy returns. You've probably felt a little bit off. God knows I have, Cancer. We have had just one of those years, one of those situations where it's kind of been difficult to achieve emotional stability, which is ironic because I think during the pandemic, Cancers did as well as anyone because we kind of are people who are creatures of comfort in our home. So a lot of Cancers got through that amazingly, but now as things kind of get back into the picture, we may have not reintegrated as much as we have liked to, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. You will kind of get this sense of things falling back into place and feeling like your normal self. Now, it's also important to be okay with change and really understand that change is the ever-present reality and nothing is static and everything is temporal and temporary, but you will start to feel more like yourself as this month progresses. But again, don't waste the opportunity with these planets in retrograde to really focus on like what is going on. Like what has happened? What has transpired in your life? What lessons and wisdom can you take away from that? Okay. This is also a really good time to really think about what are your unique talents and abilities? Like what can you bring to the table that no one else can? More importantly, what would you like to bring to the table? What do you really want to be doing with your life? Is there some aspect of yourself that has not been tested, you haven't been scratching the surface of like what your capabilities or potential is? This is the time to really start focusing on doing those things. If you put that off, if you allow it to kind of fall by the wayside, you're going to feel a deep sense of dissatisfaction that's probably going to eat away at you for a long time. A huge purpose of our lives is trying to tap into what our innate meaning for ourselves is. And that means expressing yourself and expressing what it is you actually want and who you want to be. If you push that down, if you let it kind of get suppressed, it really starts to pop out in every other aspect of your life. Your relationships can go to shit. Your confidence can go to shit. Your money can go to shit. Just everything starts to like bust at the seams. It's like you can't, the energy has to go somewhere. So if you keep pushing it down and you keep suppressing it and not let it out, it will come out in other ways, but probably not in the ways that you would like it to, right? And Cancer, you're very emotional. This is not something that you don't know, especially for you Cancer moons out there. If you suppress these emotions, it can become overwhelming. You may be getting into crying fits and you don't know why, okay? So fleeting emotions may distract you from your true purpose too. Just keep that in mind. Yes, it is good to feel all of your emotions. You shouldn't suppress things, but if you buy into them every single emotion with equal weight, you're going to get slammed from side to side. Think of like a sailboat. I've actually been on a boat where this happens. It's terrifying. And the wind blows the mast from side to side, or whatever they call that thing, violently from side to side. That's what happens if you give equal weight to every thought and emotion that you have. That's not the way to do it. You should prioritize certain emotions over others. That's not to say you shouldn't feel negative emotions. It's that you need to know your sense of conviction and belief and like how you want to live your life. Who do you want to be? The quality of your presence, the quality of your being actually determines the way your life moves. So try to put more weight on positive feelings, ecstasy, joy, generosity, kindness, curiosity. Those things are worth focusing and weighting more than feelings of despair, melancholy, depression. It's good to go and feel those feelings too. Again, don't suppress them, but it's not something that you really just want to you don't want to weight them equally, right? I want to be very clear about that. Now, another thing you need to do, exercise moderation this month and refrain from overextending yourself. If you try to be a people pleaser this month and make every single person in your life happy all of the time, you are going to burn the fuck out. Okay, this has probably been a reoccurring theme for you, especially this year. You cannot do everything for everyone. If you don't put your oxygen mask on first, then you are unable to help the person next to you. So just keep that in mind. You cannot go down the path of overextension and expect to have that be a continuous process, right? It's not going to happen. It's a fatal flaw for cancers because, listen, you are probably a very intuitive, empathetic, empathic person, but if you really try to cater to everyone else's feelings, you end up neglecting your own, and it becomes a huge problem for you and everyone else in your life. So avoid people pleasing. I'll move this over for Patreon, TikTok, so they can see too. Please be a little more cautious with how you delegate and respond emotionally towards other people. Okay. Again, stay true to yourself and allow your innate qualities and talents to shine this month. This is your month to get your stuff together. I'm going to avoid saying get your shit together because I've been saying that in my head for the past year basically, and you end up with diarrhea. So don't say you're going to get your shit together. Just say, you're getting yourself together. You're putting yourself together in the most positive, holistic way. Okay. Stay grounded and remain authentic. You're going to be able to navigate all of these energies and ensure your actions align with your long-term aspirations. But that really does require you to stay grounded. Don't be tempted by fleeting emotions to go after them and create some kind of psychodrama in your head. It's going to pull you away from what it is you truly want to be doing. So keep your goals, your dreams, your long-term aspirations clearly in focus and align your behavior with patterns that allow you to achieve those, right? That is a sense of balance. That is a sense of equanimity. That is a sense of presence. Those things are going to serve you more than anything you can do externally, okay? I just want to be very clear about that. Trust your intuition, and if something feels off, pay attention to it. You really can trust yourself this month. Your gut feelings, your kind of inclinations of what's going on, you can trust that with your full heart and recognize that you don't have to do everything for everyone else. If something feels wrong, if something feels as though, hey, you know what, this situation, there's something funky about it. I don't really know what's going on here. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. There is no rule that says you have to do something, even if you said you would do it. If something feels off, please trust yourself and allow yourself not to go do something that you don't want to do. Now, another thing that is happening, I'm sure you're quite aware of this, there's a lot of change going on. There's a lot of turnover. This can show up in relationships. This can show up in career. This can show up in abundance and lack, right? But be open to that change, right? Be open to making new friends, starting a new job, or potentially even moving to a new place. Cancer, we can tend to feel like routine and habit are our friends, and they certainly can be, especially if they're positive habits and positive situations going on. But you can also get stuck in a rut like that. So just try to keep track of, like, who do you want to be? What is it that you're trying to do? What are the things that are actually important to your life? Not what you think is important for you, but that you know you need to do. There's probably a list of at least 3 things that you know that you need to do to keep yourself in a position to do well, right? And if you neglect those, and if you put them to the side, and you try to do things for other people exclusively, or try to be everything to everyone, that shit ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work for you. It's not gonna pop off. It's not gonna get you what you want. You're probably gonna end up feeling miserable, and it's gonna be a very difficult situation for you. So please try to avoid getting into a mindset where you need to be doing things for other people, and try to get in touch with your long-term goals and aspirations. That's what this month for is more than anything else. That's what this month is for, okay? Nurture yourself, take care of yourself. We're talking self-care activities. If you can go on long walks, I know I went on an hour-long walk today, just got out in nature. Just, put the headphones on, listen to a nice Neville Goddard talk, and just got out there. Do shit like that, because if you don't, no one else is going to do it for you. No, there is no magic bullet that anyone else is bringing you. There's no one's going to cast some special spell on you that's going to allow you to be the person you want to be. Just get out there and do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. Pay attention for any tendencies to overindulge. That's not really what this is about. This is about maintaining a sense of health, balance, and harmony. Those are the things that we're trying to focus on. Those are the things that breed kind of successful and positive outlooks on life. So please take care of yourself, not just physically, mentally, emotionally. All of these things are incredibly important, okay? This is ultimately a time of creativity, passion, and growth. Those are the three words that I would like you to remember: creativity, passion, and growth. It's worth also taking some risks at this time. I don't encourage crazy risk-taking behavior, but I am saying, like, if there's something maybe you're on the fence about and maybe it's something you wouldn't normally do, don't be afraid of going and doing that thing, okay? Being open to stepping outside of your comfort zone, okay? A really good opportunity this month, I've been mentioning it for every sign, but Cancer, it's also quite good for you, given that this is a long-term kind of pivotal shift in terms of a longer arc of your life. When that Virgo new moon happens on the 14th of September, go ahead and write things down. This is a great time to journal. This is a great time to put down your intentions, your aspirations, your goals, your dreams. Be very clear about what they are. If you just have a vague notion of what it is you would like to be doing, that's not going to get you where you need to go. You need to be very specific and very clear as to what it is that you want in your life, what you desire, and then create a clear mental picture of that desire being fulfilled. Catch the mood of what it is you would feel like if you had that thing. If you can just catch that mood and live from that place, you're going to be fine. You're going to be A-okay, but just please try not to fall into feelings of despondency. This also includes when reviewing the past and things that are going on. Try not to look at it from a place of guilt or shame or you've done something wrong. This is really, like I said, these are learning experiences for you. These are possibilities for growth and change and transformation. That doesn't happen if you bring shame and guilt and all of these other things going on. I'm trying to understand why TikTok makes me look so much better than the camera there. I don't know. It's probably just the quality of the iPhone, I guess. Who knows? Anyway, let's get into the cards. TikTok, hopefully you can see these. I know you can over on everything else. First card we have is the Empress reversed, okay? This speaks to some of that dissatisfaction, some of that melancholy, some of that sadness that may be going on. Just please recognize that it's very temporary. It's very fleeting. This is tempting sometimes to feel these feelings of loss or grief, even shame and guilt. Try not to get too swayed by those energies, right? There is a collective kind of energy coming in to support you from the ground up. Tap into that. Don't be tempted to fall into like stories or narratives of how things are going wrong and how you just can't imagine things getting better. That's really not what it's about. And this follows into the other card, the Five of Cups here, right? This is the improper way of looking at things that haven't quite gone your way. If you're only focusing on the negative, what has spilled, you miss what's possible behind you, which is you still have perfectly two good cups standing, and you have a bridge to your comfort zone, which is your home in the distance. But if you get caught up in grief, right? Five of Cups is the classic card of grief. This is reviewing situations that haven't gone well, lamenting the failures and things that just haven't done what you wanted them to do. That doesn't lead you to a positive place. At best, it keeps you stuck in a place of kind of misery. And at worst, you really get kind of stuck there and you jump into the like ocean of despair and get lost in that for God knows how long. So as soon as you can kind of recognize that you still have a lot of shit going for you and you still have the potential to kind of create whatever it is that you want, you're going to be fine. You're totally going to be fine. There's not any issues actually fundamentally going on that prevent you from being the person you would like to be and living the life you would like to live. But if you're only able to focus on what hasn't gone well, what situation do you think that perpetuates? What situation do you think that can kind of continues to come and go? It doesn't leave you. So try to get out of that. And then we have the Queen of Cups here, which is kind of our antidote to all of this stuff, right? This is the core of the imaginal act. It's the subjective appropriation of an objective state or experience. And what I mean by that is when you can feel as though something has happened, even if there is absolutely no logical, rational, or physical evidence of this taking place in any given moment, but when you can catch that mood, when you can feel that to be true, that is when you are tapping into the power of your consciousness, right? What Neville Goddard would call God, your imagination being the eternal body of man, and that being God, that being truly the ultimate creative force. And I want to take a moment to touch on what that fully means. There's a test, right? Neville Goddard speaks about this constantly. It's one that you can always test yourself with. If when you hear the name God, Jesus Christ, Buddha, Milarepa, any religious or divine figure, and you think of something outside of yourself, you have failed the test. That is not what this is. Those stories exist as reminders and allegories and metaphors to remind you of your own innate divine power. When things go wrong, it is likely because you have forgotten that and you have given up the power and you have given up the agency to some external force. That may be culture, that may be society, that may be a religious movement, that may be a parent, it may be a friend, it may be a loved one. It could be anything, but it's certainly not you. When you recognize that your own consciousness creates the ability to kind of function in reality and be the way that you would like to be in life and have that reflected back to you, that's when you're tapping into your own power. And that's exactly what the Queen of Cups energy is about here, right? So the Queen of Cups holds in her hand a sealed cup. You'll notice in every other card related to cups, they're those cups with the open tops. In the Queen of Cups, it's a closed cup, right? This is something that means that it is hidden from the world. It is not yet seen. This subjective imaginal act is not yet there, okay? Just recognize that you don't have to go share what your dreams and goals and aspirations are with every single person around you. In fact, sometimes that can have a negative effect because it can show some doubt on your part. But if you can imagine telling something, hearing someone, a friend, a loved one communicating to you that they're so happy for you that you got that thing that you wanted to get, or you achieved that thing you wanted to do, or you received that kind of confirmation of who you are, that's a very clear way of feeling a mood. And once you catch a mood, once you feel that feeling, just hang on to it, experience it, operate from that state. You will know if you are operating from that state because let's say you're working on money, okay? And let's say, you have to go pay for something and it's kind of expensive and you just don't feel like you have the money and you react negatively. You say, I don't have that. I can't do that. That's not possible. That's a clear indication that you have not made the transition to someone who has enough money for everything, regardless of what your bank account says, regardless of how much debt you may think that you're in. That's a clear indication that you're not at the place where you are actually living from that space. That's not a problem. I'm not saying it's easy all the time to imagine prosperity and abundance when you know that your bank account is not doing well, or maybe you're not bringing in enough money to support your life. I'm not suggesting that's an easy kind of way of looking at things, but what I am saying, it's a clear litmus test for where you are and what is going on and how you're actually feeling. So if that's the place you're operating from, if that's the place you would like to be operating from, you should be able to notice that difference. But if you practice this every day, you should be able to get to a pretty easy place in terms of manifestation and having these things happen. Let's get to some animal oracles. Dragonfly spirit. Truth transcends illusion. Okay, let's talk about this for a little bit. Okay, truth transcends illusion. What does that mean? What that means is your reality, your inner sense of consciousness is the truth. Illusion is what we perceive outside here in the world, right? You can very much think of this world being like a dream, okay? What happens when you wake up in the morning when you have a dream? You remember it pretty clearly, right? But then what happens 30 seconds later? It begins to fade. What happens a little bit after that? It gets a little fuzzier. What happens after that? It gets even more fuzzy. And what happens a few hours after you're awake? The dream is relatively hard to remember. So you just have to keep in mind that this is also what that reality is. Thanks, Lion Ambience, for the sub on Twitch. Just remember that this is what ultimately is an illusory kind of transient reality. Okay, this is not as clear and fixed as our senses tell us it is. There is you need to make a true attempt to recognize that and realize that, while also being embedded and enmeshed in this world. Okay. That I know that can be difficult. I do not want to make the presupposition or make the claim that this is something that is always easy. Sometimes out there can really get to us and make us feel things in here, which then affects out there, right? Does that make sense? But if you are able to kind of collect yourself, Cancer, especially this month, you will understand that you have the innate power to shape the out there. Walk in that conviction, walk in that faith. That is what prayer is, right? Imagination plus faith. You create a situation internally, mentally, you feel that, you have the full confidence that it's true. That's a prayer, okay? That is a prayer. Prayer is not praying to some God, to some out there entity, to some Jesus who is outside of you, who's going to bestow great gifts on you. Once you start walking that path, even if it works temporarily, that will always be tested, because you will always know somewhere deep down that's really not what's going on. But once you recognize Jesus is you, it is your consciousness, it is not something that's outside of you. The character of Jesus that you may read about in the Bible and who the apostles talk about constantly, these are allegories for states of consciousness, right? Psychic states of mind. And when you really are in that Christ consciousness in your imagination, recognizing this is the creative, powerful tool that you always have access to and is always doing the thing. People, I cannot tell you how many times people think like, well, how do I manifest? How do I create things? How do I allow things to happen in my life? You're doing it. You don't have to do anything. You are always doing it. It is always the operative principle at all times. You may not be aware of that, but I guarantee if you start digging down deep into what your true beliefs are, your reality you will notice the connection that it is always reflecting it back to you. Do you feel you're an unlucky person? Do you feel that you're not capable of doing things? Do you feel like things just aren't going your way? You know, only if it went that way. I just don't think I'm going to get that job. I just don't think this person is that into me. What happens? Sometimes maybe you're pleasantly surprised because on a deep subconscious level, you actually don't believe that. But, the truth is that that's your belief. That's what's shaping it. And you can modulate that. This is not listen, I'm not saying this stuff because I have something to sell you. I'm not saying this because I want you to buy my course and understand the true meaning of life. Go ahead and test this shit. Go and try to actively change your mind and see what happens. If this wasn't testable, I wouldn't talk about it. That's just a huckster. That's just a grifter. That's just someone who has something to sell you. Go ahead and test this stuff. It's completely free of charge. You can do it at any given point. All of the imaginal techniques are there at any given point. Joe, on TikTok, you're saying, I feel like praying is thinking something you want into existence. Yeah, I would say it's less thinking and more feeling. Right? That's really ultimately what it is. It's not thinking a thought into existence. It's feeling something to be true and allowing that to show up with evidence, right? That's what miracles are. That's what things happen that you couldn't believe could possibly be true. But if you feel them to be true, that's where things happen. Anything that you see in this world previously had to come from the imagination, whether that's a physical creation, whether that's a spaceship, whether that's Starlink, whatever it is. These are the things that actually have to exist in your imagination from just a very normal, non-metaphysical standpoint. That's what happens, right? This is not something where you have to look that far to prove something true. It's just, that's what happens. Before you take an action, you have to imagine it. What I'm suggesting is that you can take that operative principle and then go imagine truly great things for yourself and others. Don't think this just applies to you. Maybe you have a complex where it's harder for you to do this shit for yourself, right? Maybe that's just who you are and you can't really change the way you think. You can't change your circumstances, but maybe there's someone in your life who you really care about, right? Without telling them, go and imagine wonderful things for them. Imagine them coming to you and saying that they got this, they got that, they achieved that, they did that, they met this person, and go ahead and see if that works. See how quickly it takes. Sometimes people have a lot easier of a time applying this to other people. Please don't make the misapprehension that this doesn't involve you. You certainly can do it for yourself. There's nothing that predisposes you not being able to do this for yourself. But this is very testable stuff. And Cancer, for you this month, this is about transition. This is the time to start thinking about these lofty, lovely, amazing goals, okay? Koi fish spirit, there's always enough. One thing that happens when we're getting into lack mentality, and Cancer, I'm bringing this up because this has been a theme for a lot of Cancers this year, is we start to believe our own bullshit. When things aren't going the way you want them to go, you start to believe that maybe there isn't enough. Maybe the economy's bad. Maybe we're in a recession. Maybe nobody's doing well. Maybe that's just the way things are. Maybe everything's down and you can't get a job and the money isn't there like it used to be. If you start to believe that, what do you think will happen in your life? What do you think will happen? You are going to get evidence of that being true. More and more and more and more evidence of that being true. Okay? So if you can recognize that this is a thought, this is a feeling, you have assented to it, you have consented to it, it will be perpetuated, then that is what's going to continue to happen. So just recognize it's up to you to kind of make these internal transitions, but there, of course, is always enough. That's like the key state of life, right? There's always enough. Here we go. Buffalo Spirit, the abundant universe will provide. Damn straight. There's plenty. Please don't fall into the trap of believing there's not enough. Please don't believe that things aren't going to be coming to you that are lovely and beautiful and amazing. If you really truly believe that, this isn't the stream for you. I am not the person for you. I ultimately would not be scratching any itch that you may have, because this is just, again, it's all testable. It's all testable. There's nothing here that isn't testable. It's the easiest thing to test in life, is that this is an operative principle that you have access to at any given time. Okay? Cancer, you got a good month for coming. This is truly a very transformational. Think of butterflies. You may even see butterflies in your existence, in your life. Just please recognize that you got to do the work. You got to put in the effort. You got to imagine clear, concise, practical goals for yourself. And when I say practical, that does not limit them in scope. You may have a dream to be a very successful, famous, rich person. Don't limit yourself. Don't think that you can't do it. Imagine those things, catch the mood, feel the mood, believe the thing. You got this shit. All right. We will be back tomorrow with Leo and Virgo and maybe Libra as we continue the Zodiac readings for September. A reminder, you can join the Patreon to get access to all of these recordings. That's patreon.com/synchronicity. I will also be opening up tarot readings at some point this month, but you can catch that on Instagram at Noah Lampert for those. The podcast is Synchronicity. You know what it is. I will see you soon.